So today we have our own Gerry Murphy back to give us some more thoughts on life and spirituality. He's an author and he spent years as a priest. He currently works locally and online as a language tutor, and he has two kids. There you are. Behind Jim. Okay, so let's welcome Gerry Murphy.
Wow. Okay, thank you, Aaron. And yeah, it's nice to be welcomed back. I was just thinking, when Wava invites me to speak here, I always willing and I say, sure. But in that moment of agreement, I don't have the remotest idea what I'm going to talk about. I don't have a ready-made list of themes and topics that I can pull out when I eat them. And the temptation with me usually is to go back to some old material, like a talk I'd given in the past or a retreat that I led or a workshop or something, and just pull out the old material, recycle it, put a fresh spin on it, and go with that. And I've done that a little bit in the past, and for the most part that does work. But today I thought, try something a little different here. And I'm going to speak about something I have very little knowledge about, but an interest in and a fascination for, literally astrology and natural spirituality. So, without further ado, let's jump into this topic and I'll share what I thought for you. I always think I can get away without my reading glasses. When I looked out the page, not happening. All right. But God does not speak prose, but communicates with us by hints, signs, inferences, and objects lying around us. Not my words, the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the great 19th century American essayist and poet and philosopher. So what did he mean by that? When I think of newspaper or online horoscopes, or if I think of someone who goes for a psychic reading, or attends a seance reading, or has their tarot cards read, or maybe participates in a Ouija board, anything that's spiritualist or any kind of form of divination or maybe dream analysis, to me it says something fundamental about the human psyche. And that is that we are spiritual beings engaging in a singular quest for meaning, purpose, direction, and above all, reassurance in life. We all want to be able to say with conviction, I am at this moment in time who I was born to be, and precisely where I am meant to be for the perfect fulfillment of the mission I signed up for in this incarnation. Okay, let me just share with you a little breathing meditation that I have used over the years when I've been in moments of feeling displaced, uncertain, insecure, wondering, why did we move to this city? Why am I in this job? How come I'm a parent? But being a parent was not on my radar for most of my life. So in those little moments, thinking, should I even be here? I use a breathing meditation from Thich Nhat Hanh. You may be familiar with this Buddhist writer or teacher, a great peace activist. In fact, I think Martin Luther King nominated him back in the 60s for his work in peace activism for the Nobel Prize. Anyway, this is one of his mindfulness breathing exercises, which I use occasionally. On the in-breath, I have arrived, I am home. On the out-breath, in the here, in the now. In-breath, I am solid, I am free. Out-breath, in the ultimate, I dwell. So I use that as a breathing, centering, mindfulness moment when I feel that I need that. Other people choose other ways and forms and tools of getting direction and affirmation in their lives. I have a close friend who is very, very invested in astrology. And she was in some ways kind of my muse or inspiration to talk about what I'm talking about today. Now, when I say she's very invested in it, practically every day on Facebook, she'll put up a astrology meme, and it's very beautiful, it's very uplifting, it's very inspirational. Or she'll give a reflection on something that's happening in her life, some auspicious sign or a warning or an accidental moment or something that revealed to her some kind of guidance, direction, or warning to help her steer her path and move forward. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start here because I really know nothing about astrology. I'd like to learn more. I'd like to go a little deeper. What is astrology all about, and can it be used as some kind of a spiritual practice or a tool for discernment in life? So I wrote to her on Messenger, of course. This is what I said to her. I said, what is the value and importance you place on astrology in your life? What inspiration, guidance, direction do you draw from it? Or why would you advise anyone to become more knowledgeable about their zodiac sign and or astrological birth chart? So she wrote back to me twice, actually, quite a long response. I'm not going to read both of those responses for you, but I will read the first one, because I think in the first one, she actually distills the essence of what, for her, living your life astrologically is all about. So this is what she said. Everything in the natural world is interconnected. Cosmic objects in space, such as stars and planets, are a part of that interconnectedness, and their influence on humanity, as seen through the ancient eyes of Vedic astrology, is undeniable when studied. We need only to look to the moon and observe its effects on tidal activity for confirmation of that fact. This truth is made even more apparent when you spend time with a person blessed with the divine sight to see you in the stars and planetary configurations formed when you entered this realm of existence. Astrology has served as a magical mirror for me to better see myself with. Through studying the planetary placements in the sky at the time of my birth, I've been able to explore myself in various aspects of my life and personality in ways that would not be possible otherwise. Astrology has helped me understand and even predict events in my life. It has provided a solid reference point to put my life into context in a more holistic way than I have ever known. A comprehensive understanding of one's true nature and purpose for being here in this lifetime is just the tip of the iceberg as to what astrology offers us a glimpse of. With a little help from celestial bodies and an experienced astrologer, a very detailed impression and description of the true self is created. Using astrology as a tool, one is able to pinpoint individual strengths and weaknesses in an objective manner so that we may identify where our focus in life would best be placed. As Socrates said, to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. So that was her response, and that was kind of my launch pad to read a little more deeply into astrology and to even consider would it be useful and helpful to me at times when I'm seeking that extra, more integrated handle on my life's journey and discernment. So let's jump into Astrology 101 in a few short sentences. For those who are not, as I wasn't, very well versed in astrology, I'm going to quote for you just a little passage that jumped out at me the other night from a book I was reading. It's The Selected Essays of Mary Oliver, Upstream. Some of you may have read this. This was her last published book, I think in 2016. She passed, as you know, January this year. So this is what Mary had to say, somewhere in the first chapter. Do you think there is anything not attached by its unbreakable cord to everything else? Plant your peas and your corn in a field where the moon is full, or risk failure. This has been understood since planting began. The attention of the seed to the draw of the moon is, I suppose, measurable, like the tilt of the planet. Or maybe not. Maybe you have to add some immeasurable ingredient made of the hour, the singular field, the hand of the sower. The words in the wisdom of Mary Oliver. So I studied up a little bit of astrology online, and I tried to condense it into a bite-sized form for my talk today. So this is what I basically came up with. And astrology is considered to be one of the earliest sciences developed by scientists, philosophers, and scholars for understanding the cycles on Earth, both in nature and in human psychology. It's not a religion or spirituality per se. Some people think it is, and I agree that it's not. But it can help one to find a spiritual path or practice that works for them. It essentially studies how the heavenly bodies affect the earth and how they influence all living things. So here's some of the terminology. Planets in our solar system, in astrological terms, are referred to as urges, filtered through our particular style, personality, and temperament, or the signs, Libra, Pisces, Cancer, and so on. Activated by an arena of life are known as the houses. Now, the houses basically are where you are interacting, perhaps in your work, in a relationship, a skill set that you have, wherever you are drawing from these planetary energies in your relationships, whatever form or shape they take, they call the houses. Okay. Personal identities further get defined by the way the urges, sometimes called impulses, within us are interacting. And these interactions they call the aspects. So basically, the main concepts to understand in astrology are the planets, signs, houses, and the relationship between them. You could say that astrology is a scientific study of individuality involving an objective awareness of your own patterns of behavior. Okay, so a word on the birth chart, but this is really where it all begins. If you want to get deeply into understanding your life astrologically, you need to start with your birth chart. And to do that, you need to go to a qualified licensed astrologer to do your birth chart for you. So I thought I would do this. I don't have the result yet, so I can't share it with you, but I've started the process. And so the way it works with the birth chart, the astrologer will need to know not only the date and the time and the place of your birth, not only the date and the year and the place, but the time, the exact time and moment that you were born. Because the gravitational energies that were active in the atmosphere at the exact moment of your birth were stamped on the cellular level of your very being and remain a part of you during this lifetime. So your birth chart is basically a roadmap, a graph for your life. It's the kind of the inner wiring you were born with. But what you do with this wiring is up to you. And that's the key part for me, because I'm thinking, well, is this astrology thing some sort of predetermined mapping out of your destiny and your life and your journey, who you marry and what job you get and all of this? No, it's not. It's basically a possible blueprint, but you have choice and freedom over that possible roadmap. And here is my own personal take on applying the tool of astrology to your life, if you so choose to. Human emotions, personality traits, temperament, and biochemical makeup are all consciousness energy forms. The position and phases of the moon, the stars, and planets affect and influence our behavior. I'm convinced of that. But because they are consciousness energy forms, they are malleable. We can work with them. Therefore, through the power of conscious and focused intention, we can change or redivert what is going on or coming up in our lives astrologically. That's my personal take on interpreting and applying the tools of astrology. Okay. Just a word on Buddhism. They have a term which they call auspicious coincidence. And it's a beautiful term, and a simple definition of it is that moment when you genuinely feel part of something bigger than yourself. That moment your heart and mind come together in a single perception of the world, which in all its clarity proclaims each one of us as possessing inherent goodness and wisdom. Now, there are similar words, terms which we tend to use, like I would use the word serendipity. That, like a meaningful, accidental moment or synchronicity, something that realigns us with a sense of purpose, of mission, of destiny, of knowing that you have arrived and you are at home, no matter how at odds you may seem to be with the people in your life, and so on. You're meant to be there for a reason, as a teacher and a receiver of certain life lessons. Okay, I was trying to think of some random examples of where I've had these universal hints and signs of affirmation in my life, and I've had a lot of them, and probably I'm sure you have as well. These moments when you can't explain, the deja vu moments, something in the dream moment, or the reading something moment where everything clicks for you, and you seem to have no control over that. It happens. So one random example that came to me was, 2 years ago, whatever, 2016, I was down in Florida running a small retreat center near Fort Myers, and I lived and worked there for 6 months. And I lived in this beautiful, lush, tropical 10-acre property. There was a small retreat center, an accommodation wing, and then I lived in this director's house, which someone donated to the property. And it's a huge home. It's like 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms. There I am, living on my own. And everything was going great every day, every month. And then one day, I woke up, went to take a shower, no water. I thought, oh, that's odd. So I wandered out to the kitchen to make a cup of tea or something, and no water coming from the faucet at the kitchen either. No water happening in the laundry room or something. Okay, we've had a glitch here. Now, there's a well on the property, and it's buried somewhere on the property. I have no idea where it is. And I do know, outside my home, there's a water tank, there's a pump, there's some levers and valves and reset buttons and all kinds of stuff going on out there that somehow channels and pumps the water into my home. And when I went to Florida, it was May, right in the middle of the heavy, humid weather, and when you get thunderstorms every single afternoon, and they flood the property, and then they're gone the next day, and then they flood the property again. So I think, okay, we've had an electrical strike, something happened to the water pump, it's knocked it off. It's very simple. I just need to go find a button, switch the reset button, and it's gone. Well, it wasn't quite as easy as that. So I'm out back looking around for where its reset button is and figuring it all out. I called the water company. and they're trying to give me directions on what to do, and I'm calling up my predecessor, the director who lived at the centre before me, and she did give me some warning that this could happen and what to do if it did, but she didn't answer, so I had to leave her a message, so I'm waiting for her to call back. And the water company can't come out till later in the afternoon, and I need to go to work, I need to take a shower, I need a cup of tea. It's all revolving around my water problem. So finally I did find the reset button. I was on the wall behind the metal flap. But behind that metal flap, in that little niche of the wall, were two slimy fat frogs, very comfortably asleep, right in front of the reset button, which I think was part of the process of getting this thing cranked up again. So it took me a while to encourage the frogs to move on. I'm not a frog slimy person. Little squeamish around snakes and frogs and what have you, alligators. But we moved that, but that didn't work. I had the reset button, but there was another lever that I was supposed to work with in sync with the button and this and that. Yeah, Gerry didn't figure it out that morning. But later that morning, when everything calmed down and I was writing a letter to my daughter, and I forget what I was writing to her about, but I pulled out, I had a little set of these kind of business card sized cards. They weren't business cards, but they had a picture on the front and a little poem or a verse or a prayer on the back. And I just pulled out one of those at random, and you had a beautiful scene on the front, and then on the back it was just one line, and it simply said, "Today I give thanks for the gift of water." Hours after my dilemma and sweating and fooling around in the yard, it was a moment of, okay, I get it. It was a moment of humility. You know, we live in a world where we have inexhaustible resources. If you go to Rajasthan, India, and other parts of the world where it's arid and dry, and they're hanging on for dear life for the monsoon seasons to bring them the waters that they need, and then have to filter it and purify it, and all the problems and issues around water. You know, I had one morning without water, and I got a little frazzled by it. And this said, you know, today I give thanks to the gift of water was a little sign for me from somewhere. You know what? You're where you're meant to be, and you will always be provided for. Be grateful, shut up, and be humble. But that's kind of what came home to me. Okay, here's another one, and I'll leave it at that. This wasn't so much a sign from the universe, but it was a hint and a light and a direction that I needed. And it came very clearly and very directly, and I never turned back afterward. And I shared this with Phil. This was a moment I had an encounter with the spirit of my deceased mother. As a few years ago, I'm living out on the Jetster Highway. I'm in my bedroom. I was standing at my dresser where there's a picture of my mother and me. It was the last picture of us both together, and it was around October, November of 2010. So it's the last picture of both of us before she passed away. She passed away in January 2011. And it's on my dresser. And I'm chatting with the spirit of my deceased mother, as you do. As you do when you're sort of not sure where you're going in your life, or when you have this problem and there's no one in the room that nobody else to talk to. I'm just chatting away to her, just sort of rhetorical thoughts and questions, not asking or expecting her to give me any kind of communication, therapy, telepathically or any other way. So I'm in a place where I need to make some decision. I'm in a place where I need to resolve something that's been proven to be very difficult and very challenging for me. And I need some clarity and some guidance, some direction. But I wasn't asking her for that. I was just venting, letting go and releasing it with the spirit of my deceased mother. So then later that morning, I'm on my device and I'm fooling around on Facebook. And a friend of mine in California put up one of these puzzle things, these things that pop up every now and someone's feed where it's, do this little thing and you figure out if you're a math genius, or, do this vision test and you figure out if you have 20/20 perfect vision. Well, I never do those, ever. But for the first time ever, this morning, a friend of mine from California put one up. And I thought, I have a lot of admiration for her. I'm going to do this to honor her just for fun. So the one that came up that morning was, what Beatles song are you? So okay, that's a fun one. So I did the little thing, answered all the questions, the whole thing, and so what popped up was Let It Be, the song that Paul McCartney wrote, I think around the time the Beatles were breaking up. And he was quite disillusioned and finally wrote that song as a reflection of where he was with it, that it wasn't worth any more of his time or attention, so we called Let It Be. So, and you get a little blurb, a little personal reflection for you, the person that chose the song Let It Be, to reflect something about you and your life and your journey. And the words that came for me were, you are a gentle soul who does not want to put any more time or energy into a negative situation. You want to move on with the rest of your life. You are a spiritual person and you know how to draw on the love and support of others when you need to. Yeah. So I sat back, reflected on those words, and I thought, these are the words I precisely need to hear now, because they're feeding in to my dilemma. And they are speaking very clearly, very directly to me. I remember looking over the picture of my mom on the dresser and thinking, you kind of like coming through here with a little word of light and direction. And I wasn't sure if she was saying I am or I'm not. So I thought, okay. I reflected more on what came through to me, and then I thought of the words of the song, Let It Be. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be. Bingo! Mother Mary comes to me speaking words of wisdom, and Mother's name was Mary. So that was the moment when I thought, okay, thank you for doing that, because this is what I needed and I couldn't find it anywhere else, and I never looked back. I made the decision I needed to make. I kept moving forward and I got stronger all the way. So that was another gift, sign, moment, and I thought I'd share with you because it was real for me and it made me a believer in what I want to talk about now, natural spirituality. Very briefly. We're coming into land, so hang in there. Okay, so natural spirituality. When you research this online, and I did I had an idea what I wanted to say about it, but when I researched it online, a lot came up about more of a humanist philosophy, and that's not what I mean by natural spirituality, and I don't subscribe to humanist philosophy at all. This is what I mean by natural spirituality. Being aware of the spiritual quality of our everyday life, the tenor and temperament of your thoughts, and the external experiences they create, good and bad. Paying attention to the rich, symbolic language of your dreams. Being aware of and open to moments of epiphany and transcendence that take you out of yourself and into a higher realm of felt experience. Trusting the divine providence that guides, protects, and sustains every moment of your existence. That's generally what I mean and understand by natural philosophy. Okay, I'm going to conclude with a poem. Not written by me, written by a friend of mine. And his name is Sean O'Leary, and I quote him a number of times in my book. In fact, he wrote the foreword to my book that was published in 2017. Sean, like myself, is a former Catholic priest. He started out as a missionary priest in Kenya, East Africa, and he was there for about 14 years. He's quite a radical activist, and he was very heavily into social justice issues, and so heavily so that he ruffled too many feathers and was asked to leave. So he left Kenya after 14 years and ended up becoming a priest out in the Catholic Diocese of San Jose in California. He spent a few years there, and then through his own searching and discernment, he decided to leave. So he resigned, left the church, and founded his own church. And they are called Companions on the Journey, and they meet in Palo Alto, in California, every week and every month. And he's a writer, he's a practicing clinical psychologist, and he's an amazing intellect. And I've never met him, never spoke to him on the phone, but we've corresponded for years. So I'm going to share with you one of his poems, and it's in my book, actually. I quote his poem in its entirety, and it's called, it fits in with what I wanted to say and how I wanted to conclude my thoughts today. It's called A Starring Role. I huffed and I puffed, dragging myself from rock to craggy rock, until I reached the summit and found the statue in its cave. I've come all this way, O mountaintop guru. Can you tell me how to awaken? I can, he said. Do not agree to be a character in a play scripted by anybody else. Do not accept a role fashioned for you by religious bureaucrats, nor by politicians, nor by economists, nor yet by warmongering elites who would set brother against brother so as to profit from their shed blood. Don't even accept a role created for you by parents, by family, or by friends. You have a divine right to play the lead role, to be the main character in a play specifically created for you by Source itself. A character whose actions are governed by curiosity and compassion, by liberty and love, by wisdom and wakefulness. And remember this too, personal power is not about the ability to control others, but rather the ability to awaken the soul to Christ consciousness. Therefore, grant to others the right and the freedom to play the lead role in their dramas. Dramas in which you are content to play a supporting role, even as they play supporting roles in the drama in which you are the star. This is the law of allowing, coupled with the law of creative awakening. There ended my reflection. Thank you for your attention.